Boards nailed down during the 1930s, exposed to decades of rain, snow, heat and neglect, still ring solid under your hammer. They're darkened, tight-grained, and, stubbornly intact. Meanwhile, replacement lumber installed just 20 or 30 years ago shows soft edges, fungal staining, and delamination. This is not coincidence, and it is not myth. Builders of the Depression era worked under extreme scarcity, and scarcity, well, it forces discipline. What they left behind was not accidental durability, but the result of materials, timing, and building habits that modern construction abandoned in favor of speed and scale. If you understand why those roof boards endured, you can make choices today that push your own structures far beyond the expected lifespan. The story starts in forests that no longer exist in the same form. Depression-era roof boards were often cut from old-growth or second-growth forests that had decades, sometimes centuries, to mature. Trees grew slowly under dense canopies, producing narrow growth rings packed with resin and structural fibre. This wood behaves differently under stress and moisture. Modern lumber, harvested from fast-rotation plantations, grows wide rings filled with softer springwood that absorbs water quickly. When water enters modern boards, it penetrates deeper and, lingers longer. Depression-era boards resist that penetration because the cell walls are thicker and the resin content naturally repels moisture. This difference alone explains much of the longevity gap. Timing the cut mattered just as much as the tree itself, honestly. During the 1930s, logging often happened in winter when sap levels were low. Boards were then air-dried for months or even years, stacked with spacers, exposed to the wind, but, protected from direct rain. This slow drying allowed internal stresses to relax naturally. Modern kiln drying, on the other hand, forces moisture out rapidly, sometimes locking tension into the wood. Those stresses later release as cracks, checks and warping once the board is installed, creating pathways for water and fungi. When you see Depression-era boards that remain flat and tight after 90 years, you are seeing the result of patience, not superior technology. The way roof boards were installed created resilience modern systems rarely achieve. Older roofs relied on continuous board sheathing, laid thick and tight, often diagonally across rafters. This created a rigid diaphragm that distributed loads evenly and reduced flexing. Flexing is an enemy of longevity because it opens joints and invites moisture. Modern roofs often use thin-oriented strand board or plywood panels designed for speed, not permanence. These panels depend on adhesives that break down over time and edges that swell when wet. Depression-era boards were solid wood, fastened with generous overlap, able to move slightly without failing. That movement prevented cracking while maintaining structural integrity. Ventilation was built in by necessity, not regulation. Depression-era homes rarely had sealed attic spaces. Heat escaped, air moved freely, and moisture dried out before it could settle. Roof boards were exposed to circulating air on their underside, which kept fungal growth in check. Modern insulation strategies often press materials tightly against roof sheathing, trapping moisture at exactly the wrong location. If you want to apply this lesson today, the first step is ensuring that roof boards or sheathing have a clear drying path. This can mean adding proper soffit and ridge ventilation or choosing insulation methods that preserve airflow rather than eliminate it. The absence of chemical treatments turned out to be an advantage. Depression-era boards were untreated, yet they lasted. This seems counterintuitive until you consider that untreated wood can dry freely. Modern treated lumber resists insects but often traps moisture, especially once cut. Fungal decay thrives when moisture is trapped, not when wood can breathe. Old boards darkened over time as oils oxidized and surfaces hardened, forming a natural protective layer. When restoring or repairing roofs today, applying breathable treatments such as borate solutions or lime wash can replicate this effect without sealing the wood. Practical lessons emerge when you stop trying to outsmart wood and start working with it. If you are repairing an old roof and find Depression-era boards still sound, preserving them often outperforms replacement. Reinforce where necessary, improve ventilation, and allow the original material to continue doing what it has done for generations. If you must replace boards, choosing dense, slow-grown lumber and allowing it to acclimate on site before installation reduces future failure. Installing boards with slight spacing to allow seasonal movement rather than forcing tight modern tolerances also extends lifespan. The secret was never a single trick, but a mindset shaped by limitation. Depression-era builders assumed materials were precious and mistakes were costly. They built slowly, observed carefully, and respected natural processes. Modern construction assumes replacement is easy and cheap, and structures reflect that assumption. When you adopt the older mindset, even within modern constraints, durability follows. These roof boards survive because they were never rushed, never trapped, and never asked to do more than they were meant to do. That is a lesson worth carrying forward, especially for those who value long-term shelter and self-reliance. If this kind of deep, practical history matters to you, subscribe to Thermal Vault, share this video with someone working on an old structure, and help keep these hard-earned lessons alive for the next generation.